Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. It is Monday, March 10th. We are live here at the Shannon Joy Show on Rumble, Twitter, Spreely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, and all of the other podcast platforms. It's great to be with all of you today. We have a big show for you. Annie Cyrus is producing the show today. And Annie, it is Monday, Cyber Monday. I don't even know if we're actually live right now on Rumble. There's something really weird going on Twitter and Rumble today. This morning, I've had trouble getting access to my accounts. I think this is happening nationwide. And at this point, I'm looking at the live chat, Annie, and I don't see anyone on it. So I'm going to bring you on the program real quickly. We are live on Spreely TV and Apple TV and obviously Twitter as well, among other platforms. But what are you seeing on the Rumble live chat? Because I'm not seeing anything. Hey, girl.
Hey, I'm pretty sure we are live, but I am not seeing much action going on there. And funny enough, I'm actually clicking on everything we have to see if there's anything, anywhere, anything I can do to push this. But I do know Rumble Studio was down this morning.
Okay.
Which plays a huge role when it comes to being live.
Okay.
So I'm hoping they will pick that up. Also, X was down this morning. So I don't know. Something is going on with a couple of these platforms. I'm not an expert.
Well, yeah, you know, and Elon Musk is like the tech king of the world, right? Right now we have 5 viewers on Rumble, which never happens. We usually have dozens and dozens of chatter. People usually pop on to the live chat about 15 to 20 minutes before we even start the show. So we usually have robust conversations happening before we're even live. So there's definitely something going on with Rumble today with 30,000 subscribers and followers on this platform. This is somewhat of an anomaly, but there we do. I see CJP Rumble is
and
the
I
very
do see
first.
numbers picking up. Be My Valentine is here too. So it looks
There
like
we go.
looks like my guess was correct because we couldn't use Rumble Studio to set up the feed. It didn't push out until we went live for a couple of minutes, and then people started getting the notification. So that's good.
Okay, perfect. You guys look great today. Okay, I see all of you. CJP Rumble is with us, present and accounted for. I was worried about all of you on the live chat. We have GDP 330 with us. Hello, all. Constant 99, hello from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, PA is one of my very favorite cities in all of the United States of America. My parents, both of them, were actually born just outside of Pittsburgh in little towns, Russellton, PA, and West Deer. And so we have so much family in Pittsburgh. We're there all of the time. And so Constant 99, great to see you on the live chat. Be My Valentine is with us with a comment. Couldn't find you on Rumble at first, Shannon. Well, hopefully we've worked it all out. We might have slightly lower views today just because there have been so many tech difficulties with Rumble, but we will do the show nonetheless. And we have a big, big week of shows coming up for all of you. Strident Conservative David Leach is with us today on the Shannon Joy Show, commenting. You guys look amazing. And you saw the headline for today's show. Is MAHA winning anything? Right? I have 2 headlines, very disturbing news from Maine and also New York State as we begin to lose some of those very important court battles regarding forced and coerced vaccination in the United States of America. And it seems as if MAHA isn't even interested in COVID-19, mRNA vaccines, the childhood vaccine schedule, vaccine injury and death, those who were destroyed, their lives and their livelihoods and their families by COVID-19 vaccines and mandates. It's as if it never happened, but MAHA is focused on, beef tallow at the Steak and Shake. That's really the victory that they're celebrating over the weekend, and getting rid of red food dye number 47 or whatever the number is. So is this all we're going to get? I mean, that is the big question. We went through a massive movement, fighting back, standing up, speaking out, creating parallel institutions, creating the new media, raging against COVID lockdowns and the hospital protocols and the vaccines for 5 years post 2020. We go through an electoral cycle. We're promised that this president is going to do things differently than he did in 2020. And everyone rallies in the medical freedom community around President Donald Trump to get him elected. Now he's in office. He's had multiple days to issue a bunch of executive orders. We have we have nominations for the presidential cabinet. We have the hearings happening, and it's as if nothing happened, right? It's as if COVID never happened. Operation Warp Speed never happened. And today's headlines are indicative of the fight that we still have on our hands, despite all of the winning that we're told is happening in Washington, D.C., as reported by the right-wing news media. Tragically, it seems the agenda to erase the atrocities of 2020 and beyond is ramping up. And Jeffrey Tucker echoes this concern with a recent piece that he featured on his organization, Brownstone Institute. And this is just a quote from his piece, which I have linked here in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. And yet, he says, we seem to be at a stalemate. The proponents of the response, or those who simply chose to look the other way, don't want the subject to come up ever again. It is an affected amnesia. The people who were demonized all along and now turn out to be right want to debate, want the discourse, want to strive for justice and reconciliation and change the systems that were in place that allowed these atrocities to happen. But alas, we can't do that. They can't even find any sparring partners, says Jeffrey Tucker, as he recalls the confirmation of Jay Bhattacharya. Dr. Bhattacharya was one of the lead signatories of the Great Barrington Declaration, which really broke loose the medical freedom movement and the criticism of lockdowns. And that was in the summer of 2020. And as he's being confirmed, there was really nothing there, no debate, no discourse, not even an acknowledgement of what happened. And this, rightfully so, dismayed Jeffrey Tucker, among others. It just proves that we have a lot of work to do, and we have to get out of this, political cesspool that we're in. Today, we're going to look at corruption. And we're going to go a little off script, a little different here on the Shannon Joy Show. It's you and me, mano y mano. We have a big show tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, big guests coming up. Jeff Dornick is going to be with us. He's the founder, CEO of Pickaxe, a new media platform that will, actually platform free speech. He is going to be joining us in Rochester, New York for the Summit for Truth and Wellness. So he's going to be with us tomorrow to talk about new platforms, independent speech, independent voices, censorship, and cyber attacks. We saw a lot of problems with Twitter this morning and Rumble this morning, and all of the people who are supposed to be, the masters of technology seem to be having a lot of problems. What does that mean for media and free speech moving forward? We're going to talk with Jeff about that tomorrow on the Shannon Joy Show. On Wednesday, we have Danny Pinter scheduled here in the Joy Virtual Studio. She is representing victims of the Tate brothers. We're going to talk about the Tate pimps today. I'm going to tell a personal story, and we're going to look at very disturbing news coming out over the weekend as more and more mainstream conservative platformed influencers and even the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, joining with the Tate brothers at a MMA fighting show with I believe, who was the name? Dana White, who is the head of that. Really disturbing as conservative media, Bizarro Khan, and conservative influencers are battening down the hatches and really protecting the Tate brothers. We have some videos for that as well. And CJP Rumble, I think I'm deleting my X account. I'm telling you guys right now, I'm spending a lot more time on Substack these days than Twitter. It is so much propaganda. It is so politically weighted. The algorithms are out of control. And, the protection racket that is surrounding these Tate pimps is almost frightening. When you think of the director of the FBI and the deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, really powerful, influential figures are essentially aligning with the Tate brothers, despite all of the evidence and all of the news coming out, all of the videos, and this subset of independent conservative media exposing who they are. It is absolutely just, I mean, astounding to watch. And these people have an enormous amount of power. The president of the United States of America doubling and tripling down on, his attempt to influence, using diplomatic pressure, the Romanian government, and allowing the Tate brothers to come back to the United States of America, which is just unbelievable. Danny Pinter is going to give us a detailed update on the entire Tate story, and also the Tate victims here in the United States of America who have now had to go in hiding because they are back in the United States of America and actively targeting the women who they victimized in the first place through a series of legal maneuvers. It is despicable and disgusting, and I can't believe it's happening. And so today, I'm going to tell you a personal story in just a moment about a formative experience in my life that I really haven't told before to my audience, so that you guys can get, I guess, maybe an understanding of why I'm not going to let go of this story. It's incredibly important, and it actually points to a much, much larger problem in this country. And that is the problem of corruption and potential blackmail as the root cause of so many of the terrible, terrible things that continue to happen in the United States of America, despite the election of Donald Trump. Things that were put in place, I mean, in addition to the lockdowns and the atrocities of COVID-19 and Operation Warp Speed, but also the protection racket surrounding Jeffrey Epstein for so many years, and then now surrounding the pimps and the Johns that he was servicing, the men who are having sex with little children, with the refusal to release the Epstein files. This was a promise made by the Trump administration and Pam Bondi, and it still isn't happening. And so this is dark, dark stuff. And these are powerful people. And they're surrounded by a powerful media apparatus, Conservative Inc., Con Inc., Bizarro Con, people like Candace Owens, who just lie. It's absolutely breathtaking how easily Candace Owens just lies to her audience. She is now featuring and hosting the Tate brothers on her show again. They are welcome now. They escaped Florida because of Ron DeSantis and his attorney general, who are opening up an investigation, a criminal investigation into the Tate. So they escaped to Las Vegas, Nevada, where they are now hanging out with Dana White and Kash Patel and other close associates of the Trump administration, having cigars with Roger Stone. I mean, you just can't make this up. And yeah, the lower numbers, well, there's some different, I see that strident conservative. We still have huge numbers, by the way, in the Shannon Joy Show. We are working with Rumble on a few things right now. They changed some of their algorithms recently, and I'm in contact and in discussion with the great team over at Rumble. I don't think it's because of my critique of Donald Trump or the Tates, but we're going to keep an eye on it. So the good news is the show is platformed on so many other platforms, and we are doing gangbusters on the podcasts. So we are doing millions upon millions of podcast downloads, which have been really critical in the growth of the platforming of this show. So I'm not worried about that at all. And so, yeah, we're gonna, meander a little bit today on the Shannon Joy Show. And, I'll tell you some stories. We'll talk about the news of the day. We will look at a few videos. I have a video of Candace Owens shamelessly lying to her audience, and also a video of Tristan Tate, one of the Tate pimps, kind of admitting again that they're blackmailing people. Right. And I have a personal story about that, about corruption and abuse and sexual harassment that happened in my life that I'm going to share, and that I shared on Twitter today, that I'll share with you. And it will give you hopefully an idea of why this is important to me and why this should be important to everyone. CM1968 is with us on the live chat today. Sorry, I'm late, everybody. Just started my break. Great to see you. Vidana is with us on the live chat. You guys look great. And as I mentioned, Mark the Reagan is with us. Shannon is right to focus on the despicable decision from the Second Circuit Federal Court regarding the Amish. It's very, very sinister. And yes, we do have some headlines to hit today. This is from Catholic News. Amish children in New York face forced vaccinations now after a recent court ruling. It is listed in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show, and we'll address it today on the show. Also, this is disturbing from Sasha Latapova, who is also going to join us in the Joy Virtual Studio this Thursday. I actually have a video clip of Sasha as well, speaking about blackmail and corruption and potential blackmail of Donald Trump. Is this why we can't get the truth about the lockdowns, Operation Warp Speed, and the democide of 2020 and 21? Sasha is so important right now, and she's also going to be at the Summit for Truth and Wellness on March 29th. Make sure you get your tickets. We're all going to be there live. Sasha is joining us. By the way, if you notice the new setup here, I haven't hung her painting yet, but right behind me, Daniel in the Lion's Den. It is one of Sasha's original pieces, and very, very close friends gifted me this piece. I just had it framed. I absolutely love it, and it's actually meaningful to me. That is Daniel. She's just a brilliant artist. And yeah, that is her depiction of Daniel in the Lion's Den. And sometimes I feel like I'm in the Lion's Den, surrounded by vicious predators at every angle. And so that's going to go up. I haven't hung it yet, and I want to get some lighting, overhead lighting for it. So we switched everything around a little bit in the studio as we add that artwork. But thank you to Sasha Latapova for her diligent work. And this is her headline on her Substack. Maine's Supreme Court affirms the PrEP Act liability shield for vaccination of children against parental consent. The byline here, no, says Sasha Latapova, you do not have any constitutional rights under the PrEP Act declaration until the PrEP Act declarations are terminated. So we're going to look at that as well, and we are going to talk to Sasha Latapova, who will be live in the Joy Virtual Studio this Thursday, when will also be joining us along with Jeff Dornick, Paul Stone, Dr. Naomi Wolf, Dr. Pierre Corey. We have Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, Mary Holland of Children's Health Defense, Warner Mendenhall, Deb Conrad, all gathering on March 29th at the Summit for Truth and Wellness, live in person here in Rochester, New York. Get your tickets today if you are within driving distance. I want to meet you. These speakers want to meet you, and it's going to be a very important gathering. Summitfortruth.com is the website, summitfortruth.com. And so big lineup of guests this week on the Shannon Joy Show. But as I mentioned today, we're going to hit some of the headlines, and we are going to talk specifically today about blackmail and corruption. And we're going to use a clip from Sasha Latapova regarding Trump and Operation Warp Speed with an amazing advocate, Leslie Manukian, who you have met on the Shannon Joy Show. She is associated with Brownstone Institute. So we're going to look at that clip today. We're also going to look at a clip from Tristan Tate himself, insinuating that, yes, indeed, the Tate brothers have access to potentially damaging information, video or audio or business transaction with very powerful people. In this case, they talked about a Swiss banker, that a high profile Swiss banker that was a client of theirs. And so we're going to get into this topic, and we're going to lead into it with a very personal story that I have never told. I have told people, and I've kind of, I've intimated, I've talked a little bit about it in passing, but I've never really told the story of my experience firsthand with this very early in my career, back before I became a talk radio host and a podcaster and a platformer, a content creator. But before I started this show, I was in marketing and advertising in the executive level for radio, television, and billboard. And I had an experience. It was very formative that I'm going to share with you guys when we come back. And I shared it on Twitter today. To, I guess, try to explain why it is so important to expose blackmail and corruption. And if there is blackmail happening and this corruption happening, how it can devastate and impact the little people, because corruption breeds more corruption, and it allows for very, very dangerous criminals to get access to people and innocent victims. And it really begins to erode a society from the top down. And so we're going to talk about that today on the Shannon Joy Show. Let's go to break real quick. When we come back, we will say hello to everyone on the live chat. We'll thank our sponsors, and then we'll get right into the show today. Can't wait to talk to all of you today on the Shannon Joy Show. We'll be back in a minute. All right, everyone, listen up. Being prepared isn't just about food and water. It's about having the right medications on hand before you need them. The last thing you want in an emergency is to be scrambling for a doctor's appointment or waiting in a pharmacy that's out of stock. That is not a risk worth taking. This is why you need to check out All Family Pharmacy. This is not your typical pharmacy. They actually let you order in bulk so you can stock up on essential medications for up to a full year. Whether you need ivermectin, antibiotics, maintenance meds, or an emergency kit, they make it so simple. You order online, they work with your doctor, and they ship it right to your door. No waiting rooms, no delays, just peace of mind. Be ready before you need it. Stock up now and protect your family. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/joy and use the promo code JOY10 for 10% off your order. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/joy with that promo code JOY10 for 10% off.
Attention business owners and entrepreneurs, Patriot TV is launching a brand new TV series showcasing American-made products, and your business could be featured. Whether you sell your products online on Etsy or Shopify and dream of reaching millions of viewers on smart TVs like Samsung, Sony, TCL, and LG, or apps like Roku, Android, and Apple TV, this is your chance. We're searching for US-based businesses offering all types of products and services proudly made in the USA. If you've ever wanted to showcase your products on TV like QVC or the Home Shopping Network, now's your opportunity. Support our American economy, grow your business, and be seen by loyal Patriot viewers across the country. Know someone with a business or have a business yourself? Don't miss out. Contact us at supportingpatriots.com today. Be a guest on this new exciting TV series. Let's put your American-made products in the spotlight. Attention American business owners, big or small, your company deserves to be seen, and Patriot TV is here to help. We're proud to support American-owned businesses by offering a free listing of your company on Patriot TV Store. That's right. No cost, just visibility to millions of loyal viewers who want to support American businesses like yours. Whether you run a small business or a nationwide company, this is your chance to reach a dedicated audience on Patriot TV Store on major smart TVs like Samsung, LG, Sony, TCL, Roku, also on Apple, Android, Amazon, Fire Stick, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Truth Social, X, and of course, the Patriot TV Store app and website. It's our way of giving back to the community and helping American businesses thrive. Let's work together to build a stronger America. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. Get your free business listing today. Contact us at info@patriot.tv.
Hey everyone, Shannon Joy here for Native Path. Are you ready to move easily and independently without pain or stiffness holding you back? Do you want to look in the mirror and see a hydrated glow instead of fine lines and wrinkles? Now you can with Native Path's collagen. This product will help improve your cartilage, bones, skin, hair, nails, and your gut. It's a single ingredient formula with no fillers, heavy metals, additives, or any artificial sweeteners, ensuring complete purity and safety. And unlike other collagen on the market, Native Path's collagen is completely flavorless and dissolves easily into anything. Coffee, smoothies, soups, you can even bake with it. The best part is that Native Path is offering for the Joy audience an amazing bundle discount with our special link. With over 5 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, and a no-risk guarantee, simply visit getnativepathcollagen.com getnativepathcollagen.com/joy. That's getnativepathcollagen.com/joy. You can stock up on collagen for an incredible 45% off plus free shipping. This is an unbelievable deal for just this audience. You can get up to 3 jars free today. This deal is not on any other websites. You have to go to getnativepathcollagen.com/joy to get this special deal. I've been using Native Path Collagen for well over a year. I absolutely love it, and you are going to love it too. So go to getnativepathcollagen.com/joy right now. That's right. In my coffee every single morning, Native Path Collagen. And it's true. I've been using their products for quite some time, well over a year, and I absolutely love them. So if you ever wonder, like, is Shannon really using these products and does she really love them? Yes. And I see a big difference. Hair, nails, skin. That's just the beauty benefits of replacing collagen as you age, but there are also joint benefits as well. As you guys know, I'm on like a new kind of healthy lifestyle kick. I'm trying not to overdo it. I've never been the kind of girl who like works out. I was an athlete in college and I always worked out in my 20s. But then after I started having kids, I had 3 of them and I just was so busy that I really haven't worked out in probably like 15 years, which is crazy when you think about it. But I have recently started, as you guys know, doing my push-ups and my sit-ups and my stretching every morning. And that's all I do. But that joint pain, like collagen, as you get older, you lose collagen and that impacts like your elbows and your knees and your joints. And so I want to be able to continue to be active and continue to pursue my new workout schedule. And, of course, replacing that collagen is incredibly important. So yes, 45% off. It's a huge deal. And I want to invite all of you, just for the Joy audience, by the way, want all of you guys to participate with me in taking care of your bodies. CJP Rumble, I need to do squats because I have chicken legs. I know. I don't overthink it. Like, I'm not the kind of girl that has like a gym membership and I go, but I do know like I need to do that weight bearing exercise for my bones. I'm almost 50, you guys, like seriously, I'm 40 in a couple months. And so, yeah, got to start taking care of the body. Edgar 615 is with us today. Honor Seeker is with us today on the live chat. You guys look fantastic. And yeah, lots of technical problems and glitches today on Twitter and Rumble, but we are working through them. And luckily, we are able to come live to you guys today on Rumble. So let's get into, yes, CJP Rumble, All Family Pharmacy. We're going to talk about them a little bit later in the show. Thank you to all the sponsors here. We couldn't bring the Shannon Joy Show to you every day without our sponsors. So when you hear from them, please patronize them. It helps us to keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. Don't frag me, bro. I heard about New York going after the Amish and threatening to bar them from their own private schools if not jabbed. Yes. Second half of the show, we are going to look at a couple news stories, really disturbing news about vaccination. We're going in the wrong direction. We are not winning. And MAHA is celebrating over the fact, as I mentioned, that, the Steak and Shake is going to use beef tallow for their fried food moving forward, which will probably lead to other fast food restaurants like McDonald's using beef tallow. They're touting that as like their big victory. But meanwhile, we still have vaccine mandates. The mRNA technologies are still on the market. We have not repealed the PrEP Act. And as Sasha Latapova wrote in her Substack just today, you do not have any constitutional rights until the PrEP Act declarations are terminated. And that is something, by the way, that RFK Jr. could do immediately. It was the former HHS director that signed in the emergency use authorization and declared the emergency at HHS that ushered all of this into place. And so he could, through the stroke of a pen, revoke that, terminate it, end it. He could have done it on day one, and he hasn't. In fact, that was a huge litmus test for me and those who are still committed to the issue of actual medical freedom and not the product campaigns pushed by MAHA, or whatever MAHA is, becoming more and more meaningless as we move on. So we're going to get to those in a moment, but I want to talk about corruption first. So Andy, if you want to get those, let's start with, I'm going to tell my story, but let's start with Tristan Tate, and a clip that is now circulating across the internet and on Twitter of him acknowledging or intimating, right, that the Tate brothers indeed have dirt on high-level, politically powerful individuals. In this case, he's mentioning Swiss bankers. Let's run that first, and then we'll talk about corruption and blackmail in this second segment of the Shannon Joy Show.
It was a nice meeting with the bank. I felt important for the first 5 minutes I went in.
It's true.
Until they started asking me where my money comes from.
Yeah.
And I just saw their faces drop, like, why is this millionaire pornographer sitting in our offices? They deal with, like, billionaire bank managers.
Yeah.
Look, I sell titties on the internet. I'm sorry.
Sorry. How else am I supposed to do it?
I'll use another bank. I have a theory about why they won't allow me to have a bank account. So I told them that I run webcam models, and that's how I made my millions of dollars. So the guy across the table looked at me frowningly, said, "Oh, that's a risky industry. You're not allowed to have a bank with us." So he was angry at me because I run webcam girls and I make porn, and that's why I'm not allowed a bank. But thinking about it now, that guy looked very familiar, and I think he may be one of my webcam customers who calls my girls and jacks off. He's rich, he's from Switzerland, he's an old dude, typical demographic.
And so that was Tristan Tate. Annie, I'm not sure when that video was taken, but it is now making the round, and it is fueling speculation. It doesn't make any sense that so many powerful figures would twist themselves into pretzels, bend over backwards to protect the Tate brothers. And it has led to an enormous amount of speculation about the nature of their industry and the nature of their business. We know that the Tate brothers went to CPAC, spent a long weekend in CPAC with many, many influential conservative talkers and thinkers. We know that Mike Cernovich, who is quote unquote a conservative influencer, spent a lot of time in Romania with the Tate brothers, at the time that they were accused of running these operations and manipulating, harassing, and abusing these girls. And so there you have Tristan Tate talking about a Swiss banker and them not giving him an account because they know that there are tapes of them doing really disgusting things. And that's the nature of the Tate brothers. And so it doesn't make any sense. Like, why on earth would Kash Patel take a picture with the Tate brothers? Why on earth would Donald Trump use political capital to send a high-level emissary over to Munich to place pressure on Romania to bring the Tates back to the United States of America? Why would so many people around the Trump administration protect the Tates? Why are there so many people within conservative media who are protecting the Tates? It's truly, truly unbelievable. And it's a big problem. It's a big problem. And one of the reasons people keep asking me, like, Shannon, why are you all over this? Why do you continue to discuss the Tates? They are unsavory. It's, no one's interested in it. And I've heard actually on Twitter that there are more and more conservative influencers like Tim Cast who know about what's going on. They know about this issue, but they refuse to cover it because they don't care. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is, but yeah, I have a lot of stories, to be honest, but I want to tell you this story because this was a formative story for me. And CPAC is vile. CPAC is vile. I don't even want to know what the Tates engaged in with conservative influencers at CPAC. A lot of pictures, though, of conservative influencers with the Tate brothers. And now it's right in our faces. I mean, Dana White, who is the president of what is it, UFC or MMA? I'm not even sure which one it is, but it's the fake wrestling, right? The mixed martial arts, the cage fighting, and Dana White, super close to the Trumps, Trump Jr., Donald Trump, super close to the conservative movement. And yeah, Kash Patel over the weekend, I guess in Vegas with the Tate brothers and Dana White taking pictures with the Tate brothers as well. And, so people want, they ask why I continue to report on this. And one of the reasons is that most conservatives won't, save a few. But the other is that I really do understand, these type of characters, this type of corruption and the use of blackmail and coercion by highly unsavory criminals, right? That can infect our government systems and people who have actual access to power, right? It's not so much about the Tate brothers. It's about the Tate brothers and their influence or their proximity to people who actually have an enormous amount of power over our lives. Their connection to Don Jr. and to Barron Trump and to so many surrounding the Trump administration. And this ends up impacting the little people. And I saw this in my own life. And I'll tell you guys, this story, this was years ago before I started, many years ago before I started the Shannon Joy Show. As I mentioned, I was in media and advertising. So I was in sales for about, I want to say 12 to 13 years. And I dealt with a lot of clients, but in my share of sexual harassment. And it's not something that I talk about a whole lot because I don't like to dwell on it. And it's not really my mission. I think feminists and the left have so bastardized what it means to be against true harassment and truly for women and women's rights and respect of women, that it's just nothing that I ever really got into and wanted to make a part of my mission and my brand and what I talk about on the show. So you guys know I don't do a whole lot of personal stuff on this show. I don't want to make it about me. I don't want to make it about my experiences or my life or the things that I've seen and witnessed. But sometimes I do think it makes sense so that you guys have some context and understanding of what drives me and why these things are important to me, why I think they're important to all of us, right? Because, little corruptions lead to bigger corruptions and even bigger corruptions. And sometimes, the small lies lead to bigger lies, and it creates a tangled web, and it creates so much corruption that people are truly harmed and truly hurt. And a lot of this comes from elected officials, powerful people who are wrapped up and ensnared and corrupted. And they can't say anything. They can't do anything. They can't help anyone. They can't get to the truth about the mRNA technology or what happened, the democide that happened in hospitals across the country. They can't make true reforms. They can't help the little people or ever do anything that will really solve things because they're all corrupted. They're all part of this tangled mess. And if I hadn't seen it in real time and witnessed it as a very young woman early in my career, then I wouldn't understand how truly terrible it is. And this was just one small example of it. But when you extrapolate that to heads of state and oligarchs and judges and elected officials in the Senate or the House, presidents and leaders of free nations, this is where we see is this the reason why we can't get anywhere? Is this why we can have election after election after election and never ever have anything change? Is it more than just stupidity or low level corruptions in these institutions? Or is there something much more sinister here? And so this is what happened to me. The worst sexual harassment I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I pushed this out on Twitter today. And I'm not sure if people are seeing it because Twitter is down. But yes, I have been sexually harassed multiple times throughout my career in a variety of different ways. Luckily, nothing ever. I've never been sexually assaulted. I've never had anything truly horrific happen to me. But I've had my share of sexual harassment and dismissal and the boys club and the glass ceiling. Every woman experiences this a little bit. Most men that I deal with are phenomenal and they're great, but every woman will deal with this. The worst sexual harassment I ever experienced in my entire life was at the hands of a vile and sadistic CFO. He was the chief financial officer at a private media company that I worked for, who would humiliate and demean the female sales staff and sales representatives on a daily basis. He was awful. He was loud. He would do this in front of all of the women. We had an open workspace. He would do this in front of my manager, who was a man who had an office right off of the workspace. He would do it in front of the owner of the company. He would do it in front of the HR people. I mean, this was open harassment on a daily basis, and it was vicious. I worked there for 2 years. To give you a sense of what I and the other women dealt with every day, he would come in. This would happen all the time. He would come in, and I was in sales, so I was always out, hustling, making deals, selling ad space. And he would come in, and I'd have a particularly good day or a good sale, and he would say in front of everyone, "You look like a dirty slut today. Whose what did you suck to get that last deal? Or who did you have sex with to get that deal?" And he would do it every day, always commenting on women's breasts and their legs and their, it was just awful. And that was, with me, one of the worst things that I witnessed at the hands of this vile cretin was a day when he very loudly screamed at one of my coworkers to leave the office immediately because he could smell her period. And this is a true story. This happened. It happened to dozens of women. In fact, after I finally escaped this work situation that I was in at the time, I was young. I stayed in it for 2 years, which was 2 years too long. But at that time, I was the breadwinner for my family. I was putting my husband, devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy, through the PhD program. He was getting his doctorate in psychology. It was full time. So I was supporting the family. I had 2 babies actually in the 4 years that I put him through school. And so I didn't have the luxury of just leaving a company and getting out of there. Like I had to be very strategic about it. And this was a very powerful conservative, company. It was a conservative company that was highly, highly active within the Republican Party locally. And so I couldn't just leave, right? And so eventually I did. And it was so bad, actually, that I met there with 3 other women for a few years after that, about twice a year. And we would get together and kind of support each other because it was such a horrible environment. Now, as I mentioned, that was the worst of it for me. And I am so thankful. I know there are so many other women who've had worse happen to them. And we look at the victims of the Tates and what they subjected so many women to, and how they are now re-victimizing the American victims of the Tates, who have now had to go into hiding in this country because they are back here in the country. There is much, much worse out there. And, so what I faced was relatively benign. And I think because I wasn't truly victimized in a more horrific way, I'm able to talk about these things and stand up to these people. I think a lot of women who are truly victimized have so much fear and so much shame and are just so damaged by it that they don't have the voice that I have. And I also have a platform, right? But we all eventually escaped this company, and it eventually went bankrupt years later, and it was scandalous. But this particular demon, this man, was never disciplined. He was never confronted. And we all felt helpless. I felt helpless because there were so many men, including the owner of the company, who saw this happening and never did anything to stop it ever. His behavior was on full display. And every time we complained, we were ignored or we were disciplined. I mean, we were yelled at for speaking up and speaking out of turn. It was terrible. I could never, ever figure out why would these men, mostly men in positions of power, see this happening and agree, some of them, that it was terrible and it shouldn't happen, but never, ever do anything. And why would the owner allow him to just brutally abuse women for so many years. And I didn't learn the truth until right before I left. It was at the last Christmas party I ever attended at this company. And at that Christmas party, and this was probably weeks before I left the company. And at that party, this CFO who had abused so many women was really drunk. Like, he was drinking all night and he was really drunk, and he was a vile, angry, and mean person to begin with. But he was mad at the owner of the company for whatever reason, for, whatever was going on at that workspace. And he said to me, at one point, and a couple other people, I could bury this guy. I'm his accountant. I know where all the bodies are buried. He is laundering money. He is engaging in so much criminal activity with this company that, if I spoke out, I could put him away or put him in prison for the rest of his life. Now, he's probably talking a big game, but, he disclosed. And I did witness at that company criminal activity with my own eyes. And I don't want to get into it, but this guy was cheating, and he was cheating on his taxes. He was doing illegal things. And, this was my first like eyewitness experience and coming face to face with corruption and blackmail, right? And how when people with power do the wrong thing, lie, cheat, steal, cheat on their taxes, steal money, or engage in very damaging or even illegal activity with young prostitutes, or get caught on tape doing bad things, they can by default, right, empower very vile, very evil, very wicked, and very, very dangerous people. When powerful people do bad things, their cover up enables and empowers terribly abusive people to also gain power and hurt more and more people. And, from my experience, this is why we have to continue to expose the Tates. This is why we have to tell these stories and their enablers, right? Whitney Webb wrote a book. I mean, about blackmail and coercion. Like, that's the real story. The salacious pornography and those elements of the story are bad enough, but the bigger part of this story are the powerful people that are protecting them, and why are they protecting them? And this is what is actually frightening. It's frightening. As someone who has been in proximity, the deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, is on record calling me a piece of trash and full of shit, right? Because I have called out some of this corruption, and to sit here in a space where people who have come at me personally, right, are in now these positions of power. Again, it's like I'm right back at that moment where there are so many men, there are so many people, all these people around that should be doing the right thing. The director of the FBI, Kash Patel, shouldn't be hanging out with individuals, that are accused. I mean, multiple dozens upon dozens of victims, criminal charges in Romania and the UK. At the very least, these people should at least be saying, these are very serious charges. There are American victims here. And at the very least, we're going to separate. But no, they're embracing them. And frankly, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And so thinking about all of this, just brought me right back to that one formative experience where I saw it and witnessed it firsthand. And I'd like to know what you guys think about that. If I'm way off, well, here we go. When is Whitney Webb coming on, Shannon, says Mark the Reagan. Yes, I hope that Whitney Webb, she has agreed to come on the show. We are in email contact, and I have Annie working on that. But for those of you who wonder why I continue to speak out about this, it's also for the victims. I do mean it when I say there are a lot of women out there who cannot speak to these things because of their own victimization and because of their own experiences, and they just don't want to go there. And, I have a platform. I have been so blessed to never have really suffered. I mean, I've had my share of sexual harassment throughout my career, but nothing really serious. And if I can use my story to shed light on how bad corruption is and how bad this is, then I'm going to try to do it. And it's interesting that Sasha Latypova also explained this in a way with her interview with Leslie Manookian about MAHA and in the medical freedom movement and the Trump administration and why we're not getting anywhere with it, right? And it's because there's something corrupt. There's something wrong at the top. There's something very wrong at the top. And all of these different stories coming together lead me to believe that we are dealing with some really bad people up at the top, and we have to expose them. We love Sasha, and we are going to talk to Sasha this week on the Shannon Joy Show. So when we come back, I'm going to look through some of your comments. Annie, if you want to grab some of the questions and comments, if there are any questions and comments regarding the story I just told, and we'll take a look at Sasha's video and as we get into the news of the day, which is the fact that we're not getting anywhere right now with this administration, even with RFK at HHS, regarding the atrocities and the democide that happened in 2020 and 21. And I think it's corruption. I think these people are compromised. Sasha Latypova calls it compromat. And she explains that to Leslie Manookian in the next segment that we are going to play for you, the video that we're going to play here on the Shannon Joy Show. So keep it tuned right here. We'll be back in a moment to continue the discussion.
If you're about to replace your roof, stop. There's a solution about 80% less expensive. 9 out of 10 roofs can be saved by RoofMax. Guaranteed to extend the life of your current roof by 5 to 15 years at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. RoofMax's deep penetrating power restores flexibility and water protection. Nobody wants to replace their roof. Restore it instead with RoofMax for 80% less. Call now for a free roof inspection.
When things go sideways, will you be ready? Meet the new Patriot Power Generator 1200, a solar generator that's lightweight with more capacity and more life cycles, and recharges twice as fast, all at a fraction of the price. In a blackout, power lights, TVs, medical equipment, even your fridge. No gas, fumes, or noise. It's safe to use inside your home. This is about peace of mind. To learn more about this amazing generator and get your free solar panel, go to Patriot TV Store and look for the solar generator banner.
What do a neurosurgeon, a country artist, and a television and radio host have in common? They all saw the writing on the wall. Big banks sharing your financial information with big government. Join them as owners in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank that protects your privacy, security, and liberty. Invest today at own.oldglorybank.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. Tina Blanco is going to be joining us. She is the founder of the Satellite Phone Store. She's an amazing woman. I cannot wait. I think mid-March, Tina is going to come back into the Joy Virtual Studio, and we're going to do a show together, and we're going to unpack her go bag. This is like a prepper's dream. You guys know that there's a direct relationship between being prepared and peace of mind, and this is why I love the folks over at the Satellite Phone Store. Tina has put together a go bag. It's basically like everything in the world you could ever need for the alien invasion or the zombie apocalypse or a natural disaster or, I don't know, like a cyber attack, whatever can happen. But she's all about, that woman thinks about every scenario and everything that you will need. And so we're going to do a show together, probably multiple shows. It'll probably take 3 shows to unpack the go bag. And so we're going to take everything out, and it's going to be a great discussion on just basic preparedness, like what you guys need, what everyone needs to have peace of mind and to know that it really doesn't matter what happens. We're going to be able to take care of ourselves, our family, and also members of our own community. And that's what Satellite Phone Store is all about. That is why they have their amazing satellite phones, great deals for their customers, and great specials for the Joy audience, and also everything else that they sell. So the generators and the Faraday line of products that protect you and your devices from EMPs or from EMF. Also, just all of the stuff they have there, they're just amazing, and they are into that preparation. 10% off for Joy audience. So anytime you go to sat123.com and put in the promo code Joy, you get 10% off everything. And they have really great really great specials for this audience. So thank you to the satellite phone store. Mark the Reagan, some big player is backing the Tate Bros, financing, promoting, and protecting them. I believe that 100%. This story is just too bizarre. It makes absolutely no sense. And I think it's a big deal that the director of the FBI was seen hanging out with, I mean, that's just weird. When does that happen? When does that happen? Photographed along with Dana White Dana White was with the Tate brothers over the weekend. And I saw a picture on Twitter of Kash Patel also with the Tate brothers, which is crazy. I mean, Candace Owens, I don't know if you have the video, Annie, of Candace Owens doubling and tripling down now on the Tate brothers. She had Andrew Tate on her program. In fact, I think she started her coverage of the State of the Union address in order to feature Andrew Tate on her show. This is what she had to say about that with him on the show. It's unbelievable.
And trying to say, well, it's not Christian, it's not this, he's a bad guy. And suddenly everybody wanted to look into Andrew Tate. That I watched that happen live, okay? So any person who would like to debate me on that, who is a neocon, who is pretending that they've held these perspectives about Andrew Tate forever, since the investigations began, please, I invite you to have that conversation with me, because you're all lying, okay? Let's not dress this up as something that it isn't. This is about Andrew Tate saying something that you don't want him to say because he's too influential.
The ease with which she lies to her audience is breathtaking. So I'm the liar. People who are representing and speaking out for the victims, they're the liars. Danny Pinter, one of the attorneys for the Tate victims, she's the liar. She's going to join me on Wednesday. Candace Owens offering to debate anyone out there who is critical of Andrew Tate. Well, I'm right here. In fact, I tweeted back at her and said, I'd be happy to debate you any day, anytime on your show. But isn't that just the most incredible clip of completely turning this back on all of us, saying that the haters of the Tate, saying that he's not Christian. He's not a Christian. He is a professing Muslim. He demeans and mocks Christianity. He mocks Judeo-Christian values of marriage between one man and one woman. He promotes polygamy and the ownership of women. Yet she says to her audience with her big eyes, her big brown eyes and her straight face, that anyone who says Tate is not Christian or not a good guy, he's a terrible guy. Even if he wasn't convicted of the dozens upon dozens of accusations of pimping and criminal sex trafficking and pedophilia and running a gang and laundering money and all of the things, tax evasion, even if he wasn't convicted on that, all you need to do is look at the video of him in his own words describing the way he treats women. And it's very easy to say that he is not a good person, Candace Owens. Yet her audience, I mean, it's unbelievable to witness this. To witness this complete bastardization of the truth and how easily she and others just plain lie to their audiences. They're protecting the Tate brothers. Why is this apparatus of incredibly powerful people, starting with Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Candace Owens, Dana White, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino? I'm not sure what Dan Bongino says about them. This is a big story. This is a big story and nobody is reporting on it. But we're going to continue to report on it. Sasha Latapova, as we pivot now, and let me look at the live chat real quick, because someone mentioned that it would be nice to see a list of all of the victims or the alleged victims of the Tate brothers. And I think we'll get that. We're going to get like the nuts and bolts and all of the receipts and all of the details on Wednesday this week, live on the Shannon Joy Show with Danny Pinter, who is the attorney, the U.S. attorney, defending one of the victims, at least one of the victims of the Tate brothers here in the U.S. She is now saying there are victims. There was a young woman, what blew the Romanian case up was an American young woman who was basically kidnapped. She was stuck in Romania. She was stuck in the Tate home. She said she was kidnapped and held there against her will. And her parents somehow, who were, somewhat politically connected enough to go in, and they just rained holy hell down on the government of Romania. They used all their resources to go in, save their daughter and another woman. That is what led to the raid at the Tate mansion in Romania and blew the lid off of all of this. Well, apparently that young woman here in the U.S. has now gone into hiding because of the Tate's return and all of the people around him that are going after these victims again. So it's just terrible. But we will speak with Danny Pinter about that here, and we will see if we can get a full listing of all of the victims. But there are, I want to say 60 named victims. The last I saw, named victims in 3 countries. And it really is, it's breathtaking. Nautical. I stopped paying attention to Candace Owens years ago for her Trump worship after Operation Warp Speed, right? Well, then she came out after that and was against it, but they're never right about the right thing at the right time. They're always right about the thing, like when it doesn't matter. Same with, Tucker Carlson. Like Tucker Carlson came along to our line of thinking about lockdowns and masking and the vaccines, but that was, 6 to 12 months after he convinced the president to lock us down in the first place in March of 2020, which is a story that isn't told often. But yeah, these conservative people are never there when you need them. When it matters, they're nowhere to be found. They won't come out until 6 to 8 months later. And it really is annoying. But let's go to Sasha Latypova, because again, on this issue of One Nation Under Blackmail, that is the name of Whitney Webb's book. And it details, I think the story, if I were to say the big story, the umbrella story of I don't know, the end of the 20th century leading into the 21st century would be corruption and blackmail. Epstein, that story is everything. And when you consider the Tates and this protection racket that makes no sense, you got to wonder, are they protecting Johns? Do the Tates have videos? Do they have emails? Do they have transactions? Do they have dirt on conservatives that are close, very close to the Trump administration, so close to the Trump administration that Trump sent diplomats to negotiate their release out of Romania back into the United States of America? It's everything. So let's go to Sasha Latypova, who did a very important interview. Thank you to Sense Receptor, great aggregator and video editor on Twitter. There was an interview with Sasha Latypova and Leslie Manookian. We're going to pivot now just a bit off of the Tates and into this corruption and why we can't get the truth. After 5 years and volumes and volumes and volumes of research and study, victims, organizations built out of resistance to the COVID lockdowns and the rollout of the mRNA vaccines, why are we in a moment today where it's as if it never happened, even with, Bobby Kennedy Jr. at HHS and Donald Trump in the White House? Why is it that everything has stalled? And it hasn't, and not only has it stalled, but we're moving backwards. We have 2 court cases now that are going not in our direction for medical freedom, against people who are looking for the right to not vaccinated, one in Maine and one in New York State. We're also looking at efforts by other states to rip away the religious exemption from families who don't want to get their kids vaccinated. We also have this administration continuing the policy of the Biden administration, culling millions and millions of chickens and pumping fear porn about the bird flu. We also have this administration repeating the talking points about a measles outbreak in Texas. So we're not going in the right direction here. And this is why more and more voices in the medical freedom community are ringing the alarm bell. There is something very wrong with this administration. And Donald Trump specifically, and Sasha is going back to, we're talking about blackmail today on the show, but she calls it compromise. Sasha is originally from Russia. She will be here in Rochester, New York for the Summit for Truth and Wellness. And this was the discussion that she had with Leslie Manookian about this issue and the PrEP Act and why we can't get to the truth. I think it might have something to do with corruption. Annie, if you wouldn't mind running that video, we'll discuss it when we come back.
I also want to know what do they have on Trump? How did they get him? Because I know they got him. Okay, so I want to know what's the compromise? How do they control him?
And why are you sure that they got him?
Because he's doing everything but, again, so this strategy of, so he's throwing a lot of populist nice things, like dismantling USAID, yay, I love it. Firing all those useless eaters from the government, yay, I love it. But he's not doing a single thing that affects the structure, the structure that we've discussed. It's very careful, so you can say, okay, he's producing this big show of populist, conservative, restructuring, blah blah blah. He's dealing with it like I have discussions with this with my husband, and I'm like, he's dealing with this like with the bankrupt casino, like exactly the same moves you would do if you need to refinance and restructure a bankrupt casino. Well, you need to fire a bunch of people. You need to reduce costs across the board. You need to show to the debt owners that your debt is now more valuable. You need to go get some more additional, borrowing capacity. So she's doing exactly the same thing, just on the scale of the government. Yeah. But he's not going after the casino's business model is the gaming license.
Totally.
The gaming license.
So why do you think he was pushing then? Well, it's also interesting that he has not in any way disavowed Operation Warp Speed or the vaccinations or in any way condemned them. No. And in fact, his first full day in office this time, what did he do? He had Operation Start. What's it called now? I can't think of what's the word.
Stargate.
Stargate, right? Yeah. Why did he wheel them out? And have, Larry Ellison and Sam, what's his name?
Sam Altman, yeah.
Sam Altman. And these people, and this is what he's talking about. So, but what I'm trying to understand is, why was he pushing so hard for the vaccine? Why was the machine saying, we don't want the vaccine to come out before the election? And yet he was pushing hard for it. Did he really... that doesn't completely...
He was pushing for it. So in the emails, it's clear that Trump was pushing for it to be approved ASAP. So he disregarded, and he's not stupid, okay? He's very smart. He is very litigious. He is aware of law. He is, so he knows what he's signing. Like as a corporate business owner, he's very careful about what he's signing. So I'm sure he absolutely knows what he signed, which declarations and what announcements and what the legal implications of them. So I don't buy for a minute that he was a, little orange baby was confused by Fauci. No. So he knows exactly what he did. He was pushing for these shots to be approved before Christmas. And even, EMA regulators who are evil weren't, they were not the ones pushing. He was pushing them. And that's my question. What did the cabal that controls the money supply, what do they have on him that he is their puppet like this? Yeah. And after all these years, after all these deaths, he ignores the victims. He signed an EO to get the military who were fired for refusing vaccines, get them back and give them back pay. And I mean, this is like a slap in the face, really, because so the people who tried to kill you with poison and threw you into the prison and beat you physically and refused and made your life miserable. So the people who tried to kill you, now you can come back, work for them again. Okay?
It's crazy.
I can't, but I am I am absolutely speechless after that. But he still has not acknowledged that a bunch of them are actually dead because of these shots, and a bunch of them are permanently disabled because of these shots.
Yeah.
But no, but you can come back and work again.
Yeah, if you survived. And
if you survived, yeah. And military is a high-risk profession. So you now go to the same officers, right, who tried to kill you, and they are in a position to like put you in combat and in the risky situation. So how does this work? I don't understand.
Yeah.
That was Sasha Latapova along with Leslie Manukian discussing the frankly outrageous refusal for this president, this administration, Bobby Kennedy Jr., to simply ignore what happened in COVID during COVID-19, simply ignore the victims. She refuses. Sasha, by the way, Sasha's from Ukraine, not Russia. Thank you to someone in the live chat for reminding me of that. She is Ukrainian, and she's also the artist who did the painting right behind me, which we're going to be hanging. It's not hanging today in the studio, but she's a very talented artist. Her Substack is Due Diligence and Art. And Sasha will also be with us on March 29th for the Summit for Truth and Wellness, and also with me this week on Thursday in the Joy Virtual Studio to continue this discussion. But she doesn't believe for a second that Donald Trump was just a little orange baby confused by Fauci. I think that she rightly observes that Donald Trump may be some things, but stupid is not one of them. And I think that is one of the most dangerous lies that we've been told about Donald Trump, that he's, a bull in a china shop and ham-fisted and like a big dummy that doesn't know what he's doing. And his advisors are steering him down the wrong path and he's confused. Like, she doesn't buy it for a second. He did some very strategic and very manipulative things to get Operation Warp Speed done by the winter, which was his goal. And he pushed that heavily. She wants to know why. It's a really great question. I would love to know why we can't talk about this anymore. I would love to know why the medical freedom community, aspects and parts of the medical freedom community, were rallied around the guy who locked us down and shoved Operation Warp Speed to the fore, in the first place. Are we surprised? Are we really surprised? I mean, these were discussions that I was having with people in the medical freedom community as last year, as early as last year. We were going through the nomination process for the candidate to run for the United States of America. It was why I said we can't elect and we can't nominate Donald Trump. He's the guy who did this to us. Like, these are just kind of basic questions that everyone, it's like we're mired in all of this news cycle and the numbers and 12-dimensional chess and all of these, political, all this political storytelling, hearings and legislation and executive orders and Doge and all these things. It's just like a flurry of activity of nonsense just shoved at us on a regular basis when we just have basics right here. And, Sasha writes here, and these are all linked in the show notes today on the Shannon Joy Show. We have some disturbing headlines. Maine's Supreme Court affirms the PrEP Act liability shield for vaccinations of children against parental consent. She says, no, you do not have any constitutional rights until Bobby Kennedy Jr. reverses the PrEP Act, which he can do with the stroke of a pen. And she said on Tuesday, March 4th, Maine Supreme Court dismissed a lawsuit filed by Jeremiah Hogan, a father whose 5-year-old daughter had been injected with a COVID mRNA vaccine against his wishes. The court ruling is linked in her story, which is also linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. The lawsuit was filed against Lincoln Medical Partners and its parent company, Maine Health, Inc., and raised significant legal questions about the scope of immunity under the Federal Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act. That's the PrEP Act. that was signed into law and the emergency that was declared by HHS, and that was in 2020. It's all still in place. Everything that was used to commit atrocities against us in 2020, 21, 22, 23, and beyond are all still in place. Nothing has changed, right? This is from Catholic Times just over the weekend. Amish children in New York are now facing forced vaccinations after a court ruling. And this is a federal court this week upheld New York's vaccine mandate requiring Amish children to be vaccinated despite religious exemptions. And I see you, the courts, Julia MR, the courts aren't going to save us. Well, then who is? Is Trump going to save us? Is Bobby Kennedy going to save us? I mean, we have a full piece from Jeffrey Tucker over at Brownstone Institute saying it's over. Like they nominated and confirmed Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, and no one's even discussing what happened. No one's even discussing the Great Barrington Declaration, which was necessary to inform people about the insanity of lockdowns. Like everything is still in place. Don't frag me, bro. We must save ourselves. Absolutely. Bottom up. And yes, I think there are court cases that can win, but it's more the organization and a refusal to comply. But right now we're being so distracted by the medical freedom movement, MAHA, the conservative movement, Bizarro Khan, and all of these people who are defending and promoting the Tate brothers, also telling us, forget about the atrocities and the democide that was committed against you in the dark days of COVID lockdowns. And I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing here. What are we doing here? You guys tell me on the live chat. What are we doing here? Why do we come here every day? Why do we talk about these things? Why do we gather? Why do we listen to conservative talkers and try to make sense of the news? I mean, don't frag me, bro. Non-compliance and resistance is the only response. I agree. Local, bottom up. Find your people, build your organizations, parallel societies, and parallel institutions. CJP Rumble, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Don't frag me, bro. Billionaire corporations are not going to save us from the government. Duh. I mean, neither is Trump. Neither is Kash Patel, who is palling around with some of the most vile, despicable people. Like Pam Bondi is going to save us. Kash Patel is going to save us. The Dream Team, the Marvel comic book heroes, RFK Jr., and Tulsi Gabbard and Donald Trump, somehow they're all going to fly into Washington, D.C. and save us when they are aligning with the very demons who did all of this to us in the first place. Nautical, Trump's COVID victims all have Stockholm syndrome and still support him. Not all of them. Not all of them. And more people are beginning to wake up, hopefully, to this. This is why, I don't know why I'm one of the only voices in the country that talks about the uniparty and the unibrow like in a meaningful way. Like you'll hear right-wing people talk about the uniparty, but not Trump. He's exempted. He's exempted from that analysis. The head of the Republican Party, the leader of the Republican Party, the Republican elected President of the United States of America, one of the most powerful men on the face of the planet, who runs the party, runs the fundraising, he's the guy who makes the endorsements and decides who wins and who loses in local and state elections for the Republican Party across the country, right? Somehow he's exempted from the Republican Party. This is the twisted logic of people on the conservative right in the Republican movement. Right? Like, Republicans are the exact same as Democrats. They're all corrupt. It's a uniparty, but not Trump, not the lead Republican. This is why Sasha Latipova is like incredulous with Leslie Manookian, and she should be. This is mind-boggling. This is mind-bending. This is insane. This is insanity. I don't even know what to say about this. This is as weird, as crazy, as bizarre, as effed up as the COVID lockdowns of 2020. When nothing made any sense at all. This makes no sense. No sense. How is it that the head of the FBI is posing for pictures with the Tate brothers, Andrew Tate, when they are under active investigation, as reported by Florida media, from the governor of Florida, his attorney general, who has opened a criminal investigation into the Tates. Like, how does this jive? And I know people want me to stop talking about the Tates, but I'm not going to. And this is kind of everything. This is exposing everything. It's exposing the grifters and the liars, the people who will twist the truth in breathtaking fashion in front of their audiences, like Candace Owens and Russell Brand. And then those in Con Inc. and conservative media who won't talk about it, who won't report on it, who won't even mention it. People like Tim Cast and Tucker Carlson. None of this makes any sense. I'm also surprised that Whitney Webb isn't reporting on this. I mean, she is the definitive source on Jeffrey Epstein. You would think that we would be able to draw parallels between what went down with the Epsteins and now what is going down with the Tates. It's happening in real time. It's happening right before our eyes. I feel like I'm in like an alternate universe here. Derek Bros is great. I agree, Julia Amar. It's just insane. This is insane. Where is the evangelical right? Where are the pastors and the preachers? We don't have Christian pastors or preachers even speaking out against the Tates. We have to rely on the Babylon Bee, which is a parody site. Seth Dillon, a religious parody site, which is it's great. And Lila Rose. Are there any where's Franklin Graham? Where's the evangelical right? Where are the pastors speaking out about this? Yeah, Julia Amar, Webb has written extensively on Epstein. She has uncovered so much. I would love to talk to her and draw parallels to the Tates, because here we're witnessing this happen in real time. The rehabilitation of the character, or the laundering of the character of these vile, vile criminals. It's just bizarre. KB Smile, the saying goes that Democrats hate Trump more than they love America. The real question is how many people really love God. Well, I don't know about Democrats. How can we condemn Democrats? How can we condemn Democrats when the entirety of the conservative movement is either ignoring or aligning with or lying to their audiences on behalf and in defense of the Tate brothers? The Tates exposed which influencers are bought off and corrupt government officials. The Tates are exposing Donald Trump. They're exposing Trump Jr. They're exposing Candace Owens. They're exposing Kash Patel. They're exposing Dana White. They're exposing so many in the conservative movement. Buskman says, to support each other, Shannon, link arms and inspire each other to just keep going and take it one more step at a time. And yeah, I agree. Julia MR, I can't get my MAGA friends to even question what Trump does, or my Dem friends to get I have loved ones and very close friends who they don't see this coverage. They are so plugged into conservative media exclusively. Without any other media, they they don't trust the left-wing news media, which they should. I mean, the left-wing news media has lied in so many ways to Americans for so long that, they're right to not trust them, but they are so dialed in and isolated in, news coverage to just a handful of conning manipulators that they don't even see this stuff. They have no idea who Tate is. No one's talking about it. Mark the Reagan, is this what glitched Twitter and Rumble? I'll have to take a look at that as well. Yeah, there's something very wrong with the system. And this is why, we can't have nice things in this country right now. This is why we cannot get to the truth. And I know that so many people, they want to be optimistic and they want to say, Shannon, don't look at the negative things, just, desperately try to find the wins. Well, there are fewer and fewer wins. They're fewer and further between. We're supposed to celebrate the elimination of trans fats and, beef tallow now being used by fast food restaurants. That's like the big health victory in the United States of America. Well, I mean, that's kind of lame. Where are the real victories? We have, mountains of evidence that we presented here on the show about the real threats to our health, namely forced and coerced vaccination, mRNA technologies, the injections in our livestock, our food supply. I mean, we've gone over it. I don't know how many more times we can go over it here on the show, but we do have to continue to stick with each other, though. And I agree. I'm frustrated today, as you can probably tell, by the lack of coverage in these conservative media outlets about, what is going on. And it is because they're all bought into this administration, and it should be frightening to people as we, watch the technocracy expand. And so we're going to be hitting all these concepts. We're going to continue to report on these stories. We have great guests coming up this week. Again, tomorrow we have Jeff Dornick. On Wednesday, we have Danny Pinter, the attorney for the American victims of the Tate brothers, which we will feature here on the show. On Thursday, we're going to talk about Sasha Latapova and the reality, the truth about the fact that it was a military operation that is still in place, right? COVID was a military operation. It was a coup d'etat, and we are still in the middle of it. And that's what's so frustrating is waking people up to this. They can't see it because they think their guy is in office who's going to protect them, and he just absolutely won't. So thank you guys so much for being with us today on the Shannon Joy Show. And we will look forward to a great week here on the show. Thank you to our sponsors, Colonial Metals Group, Native Path Collagen. Get your collagen 45% off. That is getnativepathcollagen.com/joy, getnativepathcollagen.com/joy. All Family Pharmacy, who you heard from today on the Shannon Joy Show, and we'll hear from this week as well. PCM Associates, and of course, our amazing friends over at the Satellite Phone Store. That's sat123.com/joy, sat123.com/joy. You guys are great. Thank you to all of you who support the show. Please join us over on my website, theshannonjoy.com, and sign up for the daily e-newsletter. And make sure that you get your tickets to the Summit for Truth and Wellness. It is March 29th. It's coming up fast. We have about 3.5 weeks before that amazing date, and I cannot wait to meet all of you. Summitfortruth.com, summitfortruth.com. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again here on the Shannon Joy Show.